welcome to the second part of our lesson here in General Mathematics. So for our second lesson, we are going to be evaluating functions. So evaluating functions still under chapter 1, basic functions. So our objectives for today, it's to evaluate a function, of course, and to recognize the value of evaluating functions in real life. So ano ba yung mga gagawin natin ngayon? So table of contents natin, una muna, ano ang mga types of functions. Second one, it's to evaluate function f of x where x is equal to 2. And then the third one, it's our summary or everything in one slide. Do you still remember? So sa algebra natin dati, given the following expressions, how are we going to find the value of each expression if your x is equal to 3? Let's recall the steps. So una muna, replace each letter in the expression with the assigned value. So yung letter na yon, papalitan mo lang na magiging value siya or magiging number siya, pero make sure na mapapasok mo siya sa parentheses. Tapos kahit ilang beses lumabas yung letter na yon, kung yun yung value niya, yun palagi ang value niya. Ibig sabihin, stays the same kahit ilang letter man yan. Since variables vary, the value assigned to a particular variable can change from problem to problem, just not within a single problem. Next, second step, perform the operations in the expression using the correct order of operations. Una muna si mga parentheses, tapos si exponent, tapos multiplication or division, whichever comes first sa expression mo, and then addition or subtraction, whichever comes first ulit sa expression mo. So, pwede mag-interchange yung dalawang yon. So, ayan, na-recall na natin. Why don't you try answering and evaluating these expressions? Pause the video and try to see kung pareho tayo ng sagot mamaya. So, following the correct order of operations in our steps kanina, here are the answers. So, negative 6, 16, 11, 26, and 75. So, moving to our first one, which is the type of function. There are actually 12 common types of functions, with 3 functions being the subtype of a function. Eto sila. Ayan, di ba? Ang dami nila. So, constant function, ibig sabihin, constant si function mo. It retains to be one value. Second one, identity function. Kung ano yung pinasok mo sa domain mo, yun din yung lalabas sa range mo. So, kung yun 2 yung pinasok mo, 2 din yung lalabas. Third one, polynomial function. So, a polynomial function is defined by that expression where n is a non-negative integer. Under polynomial functions, we have 3. Linear, quadratic, and cubic. So, ano ba yung degree? So, the degree is the variable's exponent. With more than one variable sa isang term, the degree is the sum of the exponents ng variables mo. So, for example, we have 2x. So, ang variable mo dun is x. The exponent of x is 1. So, the degree of your term, 2x, is 1. Paano pag 2x plus 5? So, ano ba yung variable mo dun? X. O, anong exponent ng variable mo? 1. So, the degree of the whole expression, 2x plus 5, it's still 1. So, pag 1 ang degree mo, it's a linear function. Second one, quadratic function. So, kung kanina, 1 pag linear, ang quadratic naman, 2. So, kunwari, pag meron kang term x, y, so x and y are both variables, exponent of x is 1, exponent of y is 1. So, 1 plus 1, the degree of xy as a term is 2. So, it's a quadratic function. So, ganun lang for degree. Kung si linear 1, si quadratic 2, si cubic, syempre, 3. Next one, we have power function, rational, and exponential function. So when we say power function, it is in the form y equals ax raised to b, where b is any real constant number. So pag may power siya or pag may exponent siya na real number, it's a power function. Next one, rational function can be expressed by the rational fraction p of x over q of x, where q of x is not equal to 0. So that's a given example there. Later in our discussion with general mathematics, we're going to dive deeper into this rational function and also along with exponential function and yung iba pang functions na binabanggit ito. Last one, last batch na to. Logarithmic function, absolute value function, and floor floor and ceiling functions. When we say logarithmic functions, syempre meron itong term na log or logarithm or yung ln, which is natural logarithm. Again, more of that in our next discussions. Absolute value function naman, syempre may absolute value tayo o yung nakikita yung mahabang bar dyan. Last one, we have floor and ceiling functions. So, yung nakikita nyo ganon, tapos may pababa, nasa taas siya, of course, that's ceiling function. Pag nasa baba naman, that's floor function. So, pag ceiling function, that you're going to round up yung nasa loob mo. Pag floor function naman, you're going to round down to the nearest whole number. Going to our main lesson now. Why don't we try to evaluate a function? How do we find the value of f of x given x? How do we find the value of x given f of x? Okay, so let's now move to our example. So how to find the value of f of x given x. So, una muna, meron tayong given f of x equals 2x minus 4. Find the value of the function if x equals 3. So, ang ginawa, yung mga x, pinalitan ng 3. So, yung f of x, naging f of 3 equals 2x minus 4. So, magiging 2 times 3 minus 4. That's going to be 6 minus 4, which is 2. Okay, so paano naman yung ibang items dito? So, let's go to number 2. So, given g of x equals 3x squared plus 7, we are going to find negative 3. So, mangyayari dyan, yung g ko magiging g of negative 3 equals, copy mo yung 3, and then yung x magiging negative 3, di ba? So, negative 3 squared plus 7. Following the correct order of operations, edi uunahin mo si square. So, negative 3 squared. That means negative 3 times negative 3, which is equivalent to positive 9 plus 7. That is going to be equal to 3 times 9, which is 27, plus 7, which is 34. So, the correct answer for number 2 is 34. Okay. Sige, so next tayo. Paano naman yung given f of x equals f5x plus 1, find f of h plus 1. So, yung h plus 1, papasok mo sa x, di ba? So, magiging f of h plus 1 equals 5 times h plus 1 plus 1. So, that is going to be equivalent to i-distributive property mo yung 5. So, i-distribute mo siya doon sa loob ng parenthesis mo. So, di magiging 5h plus, what is 5 times 1? That's 5 plus 1. So, our answer would be 5h plus 6. Okay. Sige, susunod tayo. Next, how about example number 4? So, yung x equals 3 half, papasok mo sa mga x. So, magiging f of 3 halves equals 2 raised to 3 halves. Hala, may exponent tayo na fraction. So, pag meron tayong exponent na fraction, we transform them into radicals. So, itong 3, tsaka yung 2, magbabago yung form niyan. Balik ka sa radical mo, pasok mo yung whole number mo na 2 sa loob. Yan. Yung denominator mo would be here, numerator mo would be raised. Oh, naalala pa? Remember, this one, yung x, a over b mo, that's equivalent to the b root of x raised to a. So, following that form, we are going to arrive at the square root of 2q, which is also the square root of 8. Of course, meron tong simpler form. So, pwede nating ilabas yung 4 times 2 from 8. Okay? Kasi square root tayo, di ba? So, ano ba yung square root of 4? That's 2. And then the square root of 2. So, the final answer for number 4 is 2 square root of 2. Okay. Tayo sa fifth example. Let's evaluate f of x sa absolute value naman. If your x is 3. So, f of 3, that's equivalent to the absolute value of 3 minus 8. So, pasok mo lang sila sa loob ng absolute value symbols mo. So, that is going to be absolute value of, what is 3 minus 8? That is negative 5. When we say absolute value, ang technique dyan is gagawin mo siyang positive. So, pero ang definition talaga ng absolute value, it's the distance from 0 to the term. So, the correct answer for number 5 is 5. Ayan. How about number 6? Ayan. O sige, meron tayong ganitong symbol. Nakasalapag, pataas. So that is what we call the floor function. So h of 2.4 equals the floor function of 2.4 plus 2. O pag floor function, we have to round, dahil sa lapag, di ba? Round down. So, 2.4. 2.4 is somewhere sa gitna ng 2 and 3. If we're going to round down, ang makukuha nating value, rounding down 2.4, that's 2. That's going to be the floor function of 2.4 or rounding down 2.4 to the nearest whole number, which is 2. That's going to be 2 plus 2, which is 4. Okay, ma'am, ako na magtatanong sa sarili ko. Paano naman pag ceiling function? So, nasa taas, pababa. So, since sa taas ka nagsimula, pababa, you're going to round up your function. So, ito yung way kung paano i-solve all of the examples here if we're going to find f of x given the x value. Paano naman if we're going to look for the value of x given f of x? So you can pause the video here and try to see if you can solve the other 5 examples based on our one given example. But if you don't want to do that, you can follow along with me as I solve for the following examples. So una muna, explain muna natin to. F of x equals 2x minus 4. We're going to find x if the value of our f of x is 2. So yung f of x, gagawin mo lang 2. So, yung naging 2 equals 2x minus 4. Solving for x, so yung negative 4, mapupunta siya sa kabila. So, mapapalitan siya ng sign. Magiging 2 plus 4, which is 6, equals 2x. Dividing both sides by 2, we're going to arrive at the answer x equals 3. Of course, may mga properties of equalities tayong ginawa dyan. Pero yung pag-explain ko, that's the shortcut way of explaining it. Kasi that's what we do. Pero the correct way to explain it is we're going to do addition property of equality and then we're going to do multiplication property of equality. So next tayo. So how about tong g of x equals 3x squared plus 7? We're going to find x if g of x is 34. So ganun lang ang gagawin. Ipapasok lang si 34. Yung g of x papalitan ng 34 equals 3x squared plus 7. So, yung positive 7, malilipat sa kabila. That's going to be 34 minus 7 equals 3x squared. So, 34 minus 7, that is 27 equals 3x squared. Dividing both sides by 3, yan, para matira si x. Kasi inahanap lang naman natin si x, di ba? So, cancel natin to. That's going to be 27 over 3, which is equal to 9, equals x squared. Since x lang naman ang hinahanap natin at hindi x squared, we're going to get the square root of both sides of our equation. So, the square root of 9, dalawa ang sagot dyan, di ba? It's either positive 3 or negative 3. So, positive or negative 3 equals x. So, our final answer is x equal to positive or negative 3. Next one. What if we're given with this one? Third example na tayo. So, yung f of x magiging 5h plus 6 equals 5x plus 1. Napalitan lang yung f of x, naging 5h plus 6 lang siya. Solving for x, let's have 5h plus 6. Of course, itong positive 1, malilipat sa kabila. So, negative 1 equals 5x. So, that would be 5h plus, what is 6 minus 1? That's 5. Equals 5x. Dividing everything by 5. Since lahat naman sila may term na 5, we can divide everything by 5 or cancel out 5. We're left with h plus 1 equals x. So, our final answer would be h plus 1. Yun yung value ng x natin. For the fourth one, we're going to find x, diba? So, given sa f of x natin is 2 square root of 2 or the square root of 2 cubed. So, papasok lang natin yon. O, lagyan na lang natin yung square root of 2 cube. Equals 2 raised to x. Sabi nga kanina, ang radicals natin, if your x is raised to a over b, that is equal to the b root of x raised to a. So, rewrite lang natin yung square root of 2 cube. So, yung x, o retain lang daw, adi sulat natin si x. Yung numerator, siya yung exponent ng nasa loob ng radical mo. O ano ba yung exponent na nasa loob ng radical mo dito? It's the square root of 2 cube. Yung 3 yung exponent yung nasa loob ng radical mo. So that's your numerator, 3. Over. Ano ba yung nasa labas? O pag walang symbol na nakasulat sa radical, we are assuming it to be square root. So ibig sabihin, square root 2. Symbol na nasa labas ng radical mo, that would mean that that number would be the denominator sa exponent mo. So 3 half or 3 over 2 equals 2 raised to x. Since pareho sila na base 2, ayun, pareho silang base na 2, di ba? We can equate our exponents. 3 half equals x. Next one, number 5. O, paano if we're given absolute value? O, sige, 11 equals the absolute value of x minus 8. If we're given with absolute value, there are two things to consider. It can be positive or it can be negative. So, ibig sabihin, yung x minus 8 mo dyan, pwedeng ang sagot niyan positive or ang sagot ng x minus 8 mo negative. Meron tayong dalawa dyan. Una, x minus 8 mo equals positive 11. Second one, we have x minus 8 equals negative, hindi na siya kasha, 11. Okay. So, solving for x on both sides. So, yung negative 8, malilipat sa kabila. 11 plus 8, that's 19. Next one. Negative 11, yung negative 8, malilipat sa kabila. So, that would be negative 11 plus 8, which is negative 3. So, the correct answer is we have two values for x, 19 and negative 3. Next one. O what if pag may floor function naman? O sige, paano natin nahanapin to? So, we are going to have 4 equals floor function of x plus 2. Siyempre, combine muna natin yung like terms. Yung plus 2, malilipat. So, we have 2 equals the floor function of x. Floor function of x is equal to 2. So, that means our x is 2. Okay. Kasi, ang floor function naman natin, it's the whole, di ba, rounding down to the nearest whole number. Since our 2 here is a whole number, our answer is 2. So, kung nalilito kayo sa sulat ko kanina, here is everything typewritten. So, you can pause the video here and try to see if you have understood the following examples na. Okay, for our summary, which is meaning everything in one slide. So we have there all the types of functions, and then we also evaluated our functions. How do we find the f of x given x, and how do we find x given f of x? So that is it for chapter 1, lesson 2, and that ends our lesson. Time to evaluate yourself if you have learned something new today. Thank you, and I'll see you on our next lessons.